The definition of a debacle: a sudden, disastrous collapse, downfall, or defeat. A total, often ludicrous failure. Let's talk. Hello, first of all, hello, Chicken Patty. Oh, Chicken Patty and I have been friends for a long time. It seems like forever. Just don't even think I wouldn't even have this channel if it weren't for Chicken Patty. All right, let's talk. A debacle is what we are looking at. Let me start by saying this. I love that word. I love that word. It's now I don't like a debacle, but it's a great word. Alexander Mercoris uses it all the time, and every time I hear him say it, no matter what he's talking about, I always laugh. I don't know. It's one of those words like ointment. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's a weird word, but it just seems funny. Debacle, right? Well, Joe Biden better be looking up the word debacle, because to say that this guy has lined up a bunch of debacles like dominoes, like bowling pins, and he is bowling a strike, buddy. Political debacle at home. He's going after Trump, and there was literally an article. There's literally one of the polls. I don't know if it was an outlier or what, but there's a poll where he's 10 points behind Trump. 10 points. He's charged Trump with everything that you can ever dream of a dozen times over. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, the bottom line is this. Let's be honest about this. Would Biden even know if he was 10 points behind Trump? I don't think so. But at any rate, so the trip to the UN that our boy Zelensky made the other day, I think pretty much put the seal on this thing, right? Put the seal on this thing. And I mean, he came here, and let's not forget, they had this guy marching around for a while, and he's marching around in his green olive drab issued a janitor's uniform with his issued Brogan boots. He's in a room where everybody else has on a Hart Schaffner and Marx suit, and or whatever Hickey Freeman suit, and they got on their Alan Edmonds shoes, and this friggin' guy's running around with the janitor's scrubs. He might as well wear hospital scrubs. Put him in hospital scrubs. It wouldn't look any different, right? Something that he's wearing stuff that he can throw in the washing machine, just take out, slap it back on, and off he goes to a UN meeting, right? To say craziness, right? So they got the guy looking like a schlep. They should have put a suit on this guy and shaved him or something, but they got this guy looking like a schlep. He's got a really weird voice, and he's like a comic character now. And his job for the last year and a half, and I'm blaming Zelensky, because this is what they brought him in to do. This is what they hired him to do, to enrich the military-industrial complex. So for the last year, his job was to go around with his tin cup begging, "You're not giving me enough. I want more. We need more tanks. We need more. And if only we had more, we'd defeat the Russians, because let's face it, all they got is shovels and washing machine chips in their missiles. So we need more." And the argument was always the same. If you just give us more, we could defeat the Russians. The only reason we're losing is because you won't give us more. And he'd ask for certain kinds of missiles, they give it to him. He'd ask for something else, they give it to him, whatever. And then as they lost battle after battle, hey, if we had these kind of tanks, they'd send them the tanks, they'd all get blown up. Oh yeah, the tanks, they might not have gotten it done, but if only we'd had these kind of helicopters and this kind of air defense system, they give it to them, an hour, that's blown up. And so it was a merry-go-round. He sticks out the tin cup and he says, "Can you help a brother that's down on his luck?" They put something in the tin cup. He takes it back. He hands it to the Russians, and they blow it to bloody hell. And that was the game, right? Which went on. And I mean, it worked quite well for the military-industrial complex. And he did his job. He did what he was paid to do. Beg. He was the beggar in chief of Ukraine. And whatever the neocons told him to say, he said. We'll never ever talk to the Russians. We're going to win, and we're going to take everything back. We're going to go all the way to the Sea of Azov, the Black Sea, whatever. So I'll be honest. I'm like Scott Ritter. I ain't blaming him no more than I'll put it like this. When I was a kid, for those from the US, there used to be this Charlie Brown was this cartoon, and Charlie Brown was a kid who nothing ever worked out right for him, right? And at the end of the baseball game, somebody would hit the ball up in the air, and he'd be standing there with his glove out to catch this ball and win the game, right? And the ball would plop in his glove. Of course, you know what happened. It plopped out of his gloves on the ground, and everybody blamed him when they lost the game, and he put his head down, right? Okay. So Charlie Brown would always drop the ball. Can I ask you this? Could you blame the glove? No, it doesn't matter if you change gloves. It doesn't matter. It's an inanimate object. It's what he used. He didn't have the skills to catch the ball. He couldn't do it. You could buy him a new glove. You could lend him the glove of the best kid on the team. As far as that, he's playing baseball. Charlie Brown couldn't catch. It was inevitable that when the ball came out to left field, and he played left field because you put the kids who have if you don't know baseball, the kids who can't play, the kids who can't play the work, that you put them in left field because that's where the ball goes to the least, right? Okay. Or is it right field? Whatever field, right field. At any rate. So bottom line is this, because there ain't a lot of lefties that's going to pull it over there, right? Hit swing it. So the bottom line was this, for poor old Charlie Brown, there was always going to be at the end of the game a debacle, and he was going to be right in the middle of it because he didn't have the skills to catch the ball. So, as I've said before, Ukraine Zelensky, he's a glove. In this instance, he's a baseball glove that the neocons are using to catch the ball. The neocons can't catch. The end of the game, there's going to be a debacle. It's going to plop in Zelensky, their glove, and it's going to plop out. The glove did everything that it was required of it. He put it on, he wore it, oiled it up, broke it in, all ready to catch the ball. But Charlie Brown can't catch. And the neocons can't do anything right because they are idiots. They are idiots. Ideologues are the stupidest people on earth. And you know what I say? I've said for years, the most dangerous person in the world is an idiot who thinks he's a genius. That would be Tony Blinken. That would be Jake Sullivan. That would be Victoria Nuland. These are the people that were guiding this. Don't think for one second that you think Joe Biden's in charge here. The guy's wandering around he's wandering around the White House at night in his pajamas with one sock on and one sock off. He's slobbering on himself. He doesn't know what's going on. Let's just move him aside and understand that Blinken and Newland and Sullivan are calling the shots. And these people are so stupid. They make Kamala Harris seem like, I don't know, Chomsky. They're idiots. Yeah, I got my issues with Chomsky, but he's a smart guy. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. They're surrounded by people who let's be honest, as lost as Joe Biden is, as pathetically incompetent as Kamala Harris is, the neocons are stupider than they are because they are idiots that think they're genius. I don't think Kamala Harris, deep in her heart, I don't think she thinks she's brilliant. I don't really. I think deep in her heart, she knows she's got challenges. Joe Biden, he just don't know. But these neocons, look at Jake Sullivan. He's got all of these acronyms, but he went to Yale and Harvard. He blah, 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 blah. He was the head of the Harvard Review, all this kind of crap. In their mind, that means they're geniuses. They got all this stuff behind their names, but they're idiots because they're ideologues. And now their idiocy is about to manifest itself in Ukraine. Let's talk about what their plans were at first, and let's see how that sizes up with the outcome of their actions. Okay. Was it a debacle? Let's start here. They told us that they were going to, for years, Russia was a paper tiger, militarily. None of their stuff worked. right? Their planes are pathetic. Their people are incompetent. Nothing they have works, right? Putin, he's just a dictator, and everybody in Russia hates his guts. Why, they'd overthrow him a second, of course. Remember that all you had to do was put a little stress on Russia, and they'd immediately overthrow Putin because he's a hated man because he's an evil dictator. Well, that ain't working out real well because the people in Russia seem to like Vladimir Putin. And I got bad news for you. You were trying to isolate him. Let's see something. Let's see how that's working. I'm going to search Africa, Russian flags. That's right in front of you. Africa, Russian flags, right? Uh, Here we go. Now, this is the Washington Post. Do you think they're isolated? Do you think Russia's isolated? Let's look at the Washington Post. Why are people in West Africa waving Russian flags? Russian propaganda has a wide reach. Here's what else is boosting pro-Russian sentiment. Now, you notice what you see? Russian flags. That you see more Russian flags in Africa than you see flags from the African nations. Why? Because the people in Africa intuitively understand what's going on. They understand that the United States is a big bully. And you know why they understand that? Because the US has overthrown their governments and their best and brightest and most brilliant leaders murdered them, killed them, overthrew them, slaughtered them, assassinated them, everything. So the Africans intuitively know that the Americans ain't operating in their best interest. They got pictures of Putin everywhere. They got pictures of China. They got Russian flags flopping all over the place in the wind all over Africa. Bottom line is this: that whole plan to isolate Russia from the rest of the world ain't working at all. They go to the UN, they go to their G20 meetings, and they're like, okay, we're going to come up with a statement. And the statement is Russia is evil. And they end up with a statement that is like so generic, it means nothing. Yes, we acknowledge that the Ukraine is starts with a U and ends with an E, and people shouldn't be dying because there's a war there. That's about all they get with their statement. They start off with a statement that says Russia's evil, Putin's evil, everybody has to run from them. Run for your lives. That's the way the statement starts at whatever G20, G whatever the hell meeting. And by the time the other countries who kind of like Putin and don't like you and the neocons, Joe Biden, because they know you're nuts, by the time they get finished rewriting this statement, it's nothing. It is worthless. You know, you've got countries around the world, such as, I'm just going to say China and India. India, you thought you had them in the bag. India's like, we're kind of okay with Russia right now. So chill out, dudes. China, and you're supposed to be separating China, Iran, and Russia. And Iran and Russia now are very, very close, and they're doing all of these economic alliance things, and they now have some military alliance. Defense Minister Shoigu was there. They're training them. They're going to get Su-30 something or others, 25s, 30s, 35s, whatever. They're going to get Su somethings. These are damn good warplanes, and everybody knows it. They're going to have Russian warplanes that are in line with the best planes on Earth. So Iran is going to be able to upgrade their planes, their missiles, and technological military advancements is increasing. And might I add, if Iran, which it certainly appears that helped Russia out by either giving them some drones or some models for drones or the plans for these geranium small drones that they have. They helped a friend out when he was in trouble. You think Russia ain't helping a friend out when they're in trouble? You damn straight skippy they are. Meanwhile, China and Russia, they're doing joint patrols all over creation off the coast of Alaska. So here's my point. Your plan to isolate Russia has backfired. And the main reason it backfired is because you're jerks and everybody knows it. There's such thing as a context of history. And you've got countries in Africa that you thought you would bully into supporting you. And these countries kind of got a memory. And they're like, hey, man, you guys have been screwing us for, I don't know, the last 500 years. And Russia kind of like helped us out. The Soviet Union helped us out when we were fighting for our liberty, for our freedom, our liberation. And we like them. We don't like you. Get away from us, Yankees. Yankee, go home. And Newland and those guys, all they can do is lie to the American people and just make these assertions. Russia's isolated. And the American people are like, okay, but I'm homeless and I don't have any healthcare coverage. Shut up. Russia's isolated, even though they aren't. So the idea, the plan to isolate Russia has backfired in a way that I could never have imagined. They have turned Putin into a rock star. If that guy, I'll put it like this, he can't go to Africa. Africa is out for Putin. He better never set foot in Africa because it'd be like Michael Jackson or something going to Africa. If Putin goes to Africa, they will flood whatever country he's in. The entire continent will lean to one side and just sink into the sea. Because if he's in the southern part of Africa, all of them will go to South Africa to see Putin. They'll be trying to touch his friggin' robe to get healed, for God's sake. I mean, they're running around with pictures of him all over Africa. And they're now looking up. They have this Africa summit, right? Within days after this Africa summit, Niger's overthrown, Mali's overthrown. You know what I mean? Burkina Faso, the leader, standing up saying, "Screw you, Yankees. We're willing to fight for our freedom." This whole business of France and the U.S. stealing our stuff is over. You know, this is how big a debacle it is internationally. Not only did you screw yourself, you screwed France. France was in West Africa, robbing the poor African people blind, taking everything they had, stealing their resources. They had to take their money and put it in French banks. And now the West Africans are like, screw you, French people. We're done with you. Get out and stay out and take your American Yankees with you, right? So they screwed themselves. They screwed France. And these same countries are like, hey, Wagner, come on in. China, hey, well, now, meanwhile, the U.S. is like, during this time, China went into the Middle East and brokered a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. The BRICS is expanding. And so now they've brought in Algeria, Iran, I mean, you name it, Egypt. I mean, they're really screwing over the U.S. economically. They're building out, and every country that ain't in BRICS wants to get in BRICS, including France. So your plan to isolate Russia hasn't worked out well at all. Done, finished. That one's screwed. It's the opposite. The Russians are outside of the U.S. and outside of the U.S. controlled vassals where they can just feed them with propaganda day and night. The people love Putin. They love China. They like them. They literally like them. They see them as heroes fighting against you, neocons, talking to you. They see them talking to, pushing back against you. Somebody says broken speech on every show that is live. I wonder if that's me. That ain't me. My speech ain't broken. Get out of here. Pop it. Let me show right here. Pop it too. Pop it says broken speech on every show that is live. I don't know, man. Maybe you're having problems here. I don't get complaints from anybody. Somebody says, maybe. Yeah, it could be. It could be anything. Could be local stuff. But he's in the UK. Yeah, that might explain it. I don't think the people in the UK, the people who run things in the UK, are thrilled with me. And besides, I'm all the way on the other side of the pond. This thing's got to go cables across the Atlantic and stuff, and be intercepted by NSA. All right, let's continue. So what we're looking at is not just a debacle when it comes to international relations. You got the opposite of what you wanted. Now you got NATO. They're going to strengthen NATO, and they're even saying it. Stoltenberg and these clowns. Yeah, Putin thought he was going to get NATO off of his borders. He got more NATO. We got Finland. We got this. We got that. The problem you have is NATO has been exposed. I think NATO's dead. NATO has been exposed in two ways. Number one, you blew up Nord Stream. This is the 26th of September. It's been exactly a year. The world knows. Everybody knows. This is the elephant in the room. This is the blue whale in a phone booth. For God's sake, everybody knows. So everybody knows what NATO is now. You blew up Nord Stream. That means any argument that NATO is like a grouping of countries that are come together for their own safety and they're working together to protect themselves from an outsider. You're the outsider. You're the only one that attacked them. Russia was selling. You attacked NATO, so Russia couldn't sell them yet. Russia's trying to do a business transaction with them, and you're trying to do a military transaction with them because you blew them to hell. And might I add, you have thoroughly discredited the elites, starting with Scholz. You have turned Scholz into you castrated this man. They castrated this guy. Look at him. He's running around here with an eye patch on, and he doesn't even have the wherewithal to call himself a pirate. He looks like a chump. He's the weakest man on earth. I have no words as a man to put forward the contempt and disdain I have for a guy that will stand beside Joe Biden and let Joe Biden just spit on him. Hey, we're gonna blow up Nord Stream. What do you think, Schultz? Yeah, whatever he's out. Sure, I guess. I mean, for God's sake, that man's pathetic. And you have exposed the elites. You have discredited the elites. You are going to get a storm of elections in Europe that all start electing people who don't like NATO and don't like you and are sick and tired of not having their independence and sovereignty. That's what's coming. You have exposed these people out of the desperation of these people. They have exposed that Europe has no sovereignty and independence. You had to hide that. You couldn't let the Europeans find that out. I mean, the smart ones have. You still got some idiots running around with a blue and yellow flag. They'll be freezing to death this winter. They can maybe make soup. They'll be hungry. They can make soup out of the blue and yellow flag. They can wrap themselves in it like a blanket because they're going to need to if it's a cold winter. Hopefully for them, it's a warm winter like last winter. They'll be okay. But if it's a cold winter, it ain't going to be a good time in Northern Europe, in any of Europe. It's going to be a bad time. And they're going to start looking at you, Victoria Nuland and Joe Biden and the rest of you clowns who blew the hell out of Nord Stream saying, hey, how'd this happen? Bad news. NATO is done. So you got two things coming. Number one, you're going to have to face elections. And in those elections, people who don't like you are going to get elected. Number two, the people are going to suffer economic pain. And that economic pain is going to wake some of these blue and yellow flag waving idiots up. And they still may wave their flags, but they'll still say, hey, what was all this for again? What? Wait, what? Who? And here's what's so bad about it. All the economic pain they're going to, the loss, the recognition that they didn't have sovereignty, all the emotional pain that they're going to have to deal with. And you're going to lose the war. You're going to have a catastrophic collapse. It's coming. Look, you did your they did their spring offensive that turned into a summer offensive. So they're like, we're going to do an offensive. And boy, the Russians are going to get it when we do our offensive. We're coming downhill on the Russians and we're going to beat the bloody hell out of them. Because let's face it, all they got is shovels. They got a couple missiles, but they got washing machine chips in them. What can they do? You told the world that the Russians couldn't fight. They were stupid idiots, knuckle dragging apes. Oh my God, they were subhumans. And that the people that you were supporting were the ones that were standing for democracy, and they were the great fighters. And they're getting their asses kicked all over the battlefield. And now all you can do is continue to send them forward into minefields. All you can do. You called it an offensive. This wasn't an offensive. If there's minefields there and machine guns, and my job is to go into the minefield and machine guns, and I ain't coming out alive, that's not an offensive. All you did was you threw bodies into the meat grinder. I said this way back, and I will repeat it. The Russians set up a trash compactor for NATO in Ukraine, and the US just kept filling it. It was a trash compactor for weapons. You have de-weaponized, you have demilitarized yourself and demilitarized your idiot vassals in Europe. Hey, send them some more, whatever. And the Russians were kind of slick about it, if you really think about it. They were doing the old "don't throw me in that briar patch." No, you better not send more tanks. Oh, we're going to be really pissed. That's a red line. I love the Russians' red lines. That's a red line. My God, if you send those Challenger tanks, that's going to be it. We're going to nuke you. We'll have it then. And of course, the Biden suckers are like, yeah, we'll fix them. Hey, England, send them some of those Challenger tanks. And the Russians are like, oh, no, please, anything but Challenger tanks. We can't possibly stand up to Challenger tanks. Challenger tanks coming, boom, they're gone in a cloud of dust. Hey, M777 howitzers. Now that's going to get the job done. The Russians, oh God, please, anything but the M777 howitzers. No, no, not M777 howitzers. We couldn't possibly stand up to that level of technology. Yeah, we'll fix you, Ruskies. Send in the M777 howitzers. Boom, they're blown up in smoke. Oh, you know my favorite? The Patriot missiles. The Patriot missile batteries. Think about that. They shot down Scuds, we were told. They were great during the 1991 war. How long ago was that? 91, 01, 11, 21. 32 years ago, they were real high tech. Yeah, 32 years ago. They were real high tech. So what the hell? Let's send them on down to Kiev. They sent them to Kiev. The Russians said, don't do it, please, whatever you do, not Patriot missiles. We couldn't possibly stand up to a Patriot missile battery while you'll shoot everything we have down. If you send a Patriot missile battery, don't do it. Please, we beg you. And of course, the idiots were like, ho, we got them now. It's Patriot missile batteries. That's the Russian kryptonite. They send in the Patriot missile battery. They turn on the radar. I'm sure you saw the video. Incoming. And this Patriot missile battery fires off like 30 missiles in like 60 seconds. They're just missiles are flying in the air. Didn't hit anything. And a couple of Kinzhal hypersonic missiles came from the other direction, and no more Patriot missile batteries. That's it. They may have been good for Scuds, which they weren't. They had to fudge the numbers back then and say they hit Scuds. They didn't hit anything. And that was 31 years. They couldn't shoot down Scuds 31 years ago, but they were supposed to come in and shoot down hypersonic missiles flying 14,000 miles an hour. I don't know. I don't have a degree in physics, but I can count to like 14,000. And I'm pretty sure if you couldn't shoot down Scud missiles, this probably ain't going to work. And where there were Patriot missile batteries set up in Kiev, there were craters afterwards. The Russians blew them to hell. You gave the Russians the opportunity for the world to look at what you were sending in. What was it? Leopard 2s and Patriots and all these things with these great names. HIMARS, blah, blah, blah. Great names, scary names. Storm Shadow. Oh my God. And all the Russians did was they got to practice on them. They got to figure them out. They got to take some of them home. They have, like, the Russians literally in Moscow have this big thing set up where they've got the things they've captured. We got tanks over here. We got Storm Shadow missiles here. Look at this, a HIMARS system. All the stuff that went over there, half of the stuff, it's so corrupt in Ukraine, they literally sold the stuff. Like 3 HIMARS went, and the word on the street is the Russians bought one for like 800,000 or something. They like contacted some of the Ukrainians and like, hey, I understand you got a couple HIMARS. Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. Ruskies, give you 800,000. We hate you, Ruskies. We're Nazis and we hate Ruskies. Yeah, we hate you too. But tell you what, you probably come up with $800,000 if you. Oh, wait, did you say 800,000? Well, hope I wasn't out of line with that little crack about hating the Ruskies. Where shall we deliver it? Well, drive it right up to you. That's going to be cash on the barrelhead, $800,000. And I'm sure Zelensky got his cut. They don't give a crap. They may hate the Ruskies, but they're corrupt. And what they like is mint. Government. They like dollars. And they literally sold stuff to the Russians. The US sent them stuff. And like the best of it, that the US didn't have their, it's like, give us to this so we can take it to the battlefield to attack the Russians. And they're like, okay, here's our latest Bradley, whatever the hell. Take this and attack the Russians. They drove straight down to the Russians. Hey guys, come get your Bradley. Bradley's for sale. Special weekend special for Bradleys. Buy one, get one for $100,000. The Russians, here's your money. Thanks. Bye. See you later. That's what we dealt with. These idiots basically exposed all of the military technology they had to the Russians so the Russians could buy it from the Ukrainians or capture it from the Ukrainians or just take it when Ukrainians stuck their hands up in the air, the smart ones. Hey, what are you going to do with that tank? Please don't kill us. There you go. Thank you very much. Right this way. You got to take that guy over there, bandage him up and feed him. Tank back to Moscow. We got to put it on display. But first, we got to look over and find all the weaknesses. That's what they did. These people are not real smart. Not real smart. So at any rate, When it comes to military technology, let's face it. Think about this for a second. One of the big things in this in the international world, right, is the sale of military hardware. Now, you're buying military hardware, and you see this stuff. What is the Challenger tank? Whatever the hell, the Leopard 2, right? The Russians take Coronet anti-tank missiles that are 25, 30 years of old technology, and they blast the hell out of these tanks. Are you going to buy these? Are you calling the U.S. now? Hey, can I get a delivery of, I don't know, whatever the heck, of HIMARS? No. Hey, give me a delivery of some of this stuff that the Russians are blowing up that doesn't really work at all. It just gets blown up real quick. Can I buy some of that? It's overpriced. No, they're all calling Moscow. Hey, can we get some hypersonic missiles? Moscow ain't giving up that technology, but you get my point. They're getting my point. They're seeing the stuff work. If one side's winning, the other side's losing, what do you think they're going to do? You have discredited the military industrial complex. Unless somebody wants to buy a nuclear sub, the basic stuff you use on the battlefield, they ain't buying this stuff. It's overpriced. And I'm not going to say it doesn't work. I'm going to say it hasn't worked real well. Maybe it will under the right circumstances. Under the circumstances they got now, it ain't working real well. So that's another area of, just total and complete debacle. Now let's go to the big one. So Zelensky shows up at the UN. And of course, that's going to be the big one. When he comes in, then everybody's supposed to stand and salute. It's supposed to be like the Canadian Parliament and a Nazi. It's almost like if you were to like get the DNA of Adolf Hitler and then recreate him and send him to the Canadian Parliament, how they'd all be jumping up and down, clapping, falling. It'd be like, you ever see like one of these heartthrob teen idols, the Backstreet Boys or something, and all the 14-year-old girls when they come in, oh my God, it's the Backstreet Boys. And they all go crazy and they faint and they cry and, all that kind of stuff. That's what would happen if you reincarnated Adolf Hitler. If you got some of his DNA and, put the little mustache on this dude, you march him into the Canadian Parliament, they'd be like 14-year-old girls looking at the Backstreet Boys back in the day, or Menudo, or one of these groups back in the day, right? They'd be screaming, they'd be pooping themselves, falling on the ground. Oh my God, it's Father Adolf. Because if you're I ain't hating on Canadians. I'm just saying that's who they are. I'm glad they're out. The Canadian Parliament came out of the closet. That's a good thing. Be free. Be who you are. We don't care. Give us your what are your pronouns? Adolf. My pronoun is Mein Kampf. I guess it is. Whatever it is, you guys, Canada is out of the closet. Okay. We're done with them. We don't have to talk about who they are. We don't have to argue about the parliament. I guess the funny thing is, remember this? The truckers were marching or, protesting, and they're like, yes, we saw somewhere we saw one of those German flags or something like that. They're all Nazis. We saw a Nazi flag. Well, there wasn't a Nazi flag around because we know that the Canadian Parliament would all have been jumping out of their skin celebrating, doing a standing ovation if they saw a Nazi flag. So there couldn't have been one with the truckers, or they'd have been all there in celebration. So obviously the truckers didn't have a Nazi flag, because then they would have been the toast of the town in Ottawa. But since they weren't, apparently there were no Nazi flag. So he goes to Canada, and there is a debacle, as Alexander Mercouris referred to it, a ghastly debacle there. Unthinkable, a worldwide debacle. And even that, he goes there, he's got some friggin' Nazi. The guy, of course, they do what you're going to do if you're in the Canadian Parliament. And a Nazi comes in, they jump up and they hoot, they holler, they high five, they celebrate. It's the greatest day of their lives. There's a literal, real Nazi from World War II in. So they're the happiest they've ever been in their lives. There's never been an event in the Canadian Parliament that has made them quite so happy. Zelensky's in there. He's dancing a jig, and they got exposed. And then afterwards, see, they couldn't help themselves. A Nazi comes in, right? And you would think that the Canadian people in the Canadian Parliament would kind of elbow each other. Hey, guys, we can't let the cat out of the bag. I know there's a Nazi. I know everybody's excited, but let's just play it cool. We don't really want the world to know how excited. They couldn't help themselves. You know what they were like? I tell you what they were like. Anybody here ever have a dog? And like, You go away and you put your dog in a, kennel or something like that, or leave the dog with a friend. And you go away for a week on vacation, whatever the hell, you're down at the shore, you're doing whatever you're doing, right? You come back, you open the door, and the dog sees you. And the dog goes nuts. You know how dogs wag their tail so hard that their whole body kind of like waves, their whole body's like going like this. They're like, oh, they're rubbing against you, they're jumping up, they're panting, they're putting their feet on you, they're going nuts. They love you. The dog really, really loves you, right? It's a beautiful thing. That's why people love dogs, right? Well, that's effectively what it's like when a Nazi comes into the Canadian Parliament. It's not that they don't understand, that they don't really know that it's not a good thing, that it's a bad look. It's just they're so excited. They're out of control. They can't help themselves. There was nothing they could do. They were, if somebody probably was trying to calm them down. Hey guys, calm down. You know that guy's a Nazi. People are going to talk about us. They couldn't help. Oh my God, no! They fell on the ground. They cried. They did everything. There was a Nazi there. So give them the benefit of the doubt. And I mean, it's, if you come home and your dog hasn't seen you, he can't control himself. Sometimes he might urinate. Dogs even do that. Dogs literally will pee on the floor. They're so happy and excited. Don't hit him. Don't get upset with the dog because he peed on the floor. It's out of love. I imagine a couple of the members of the parliament might have peed on the floor in the Canadian Parliament when they saw a Nazi. They were out of control. There was just love emanating from them everywhere. And they saw a Nazi and, hey, they fell apart. So chill out on these poor people. Anyway, so let's continue. This guy is expecting the usual, right? And of course, the United States squeezes everybody. So they're probably like, all right, vassals, all of you guys, Zelensky's coming in now. We expect you to salute. We expect you to sit up in your seat. We expect you to smile and say that you love him. Of course, Zelensky comes in and they were out of there. Did you see that auditorium? Out of there. Empty seats. Well, we know the Africans are out of there, right? They're out of there. So this guy gives some stupid speech where he harangues everybody. All right, you ungrateful sons of bitches, every last one of you. I hate your guts. First of all, what kind of speech is that? He always gives the same speech. Zelensky never comes in and says, hello, dear friends. I'm so appreciative for the things that you've done for me. Ladies and gentlemen, and I guess given that he's dealing with the U.S., he'd have to name 20 other genders. I don't know them all. I can't keep up with all the genders. But he'd say, ladies and gentlemen, and then he'd name a half a dozen other genders. And all these other genders, thanks. We love you. Just bring in your love from the people of Ukraine. The Azov Nazis, hey, man, they told me they wanted to bring you a gift. We have signed copies of Mein Kampf. Really good. The back with the bound, the leather back and all that, Mein Kampf, original reprints, and they're signed by an Azov Nazi. We got one here, Adolf. One guy calls himself Joseph Goebbels. That's not his real name, of course. You understand this isn't really Joseph Goebbels. You're not getting the real thing, but this is as close as we come. Here you go. And so you would think he would tell everybody he loves them. He would thank them, and he would give them a signed copy of Mein Kampf from some member of the Azov. Nope. That ain't what he does. He comes in and he lights, and no matter what, he lights into people. I don't care if he's in Europe at the UN. His job is to come in. Hello, you ungrateful bastards, every last one of you. God, I hate you people. God, I hate you people. Why are you even alive? Can somebody please kill these people? I hate them all. That's basically his job. Now, look, we'd be defeating the Russians if it weren't for you no good, ne'er-do-well, backstabbing sons of... We would be defeating the Russians if you would just do the right thing, and that is give us everything. You got gold in your vaults, give it up. Weapons, we want them. Women, we're taking them. Children, they'll be our slaves. We're telling you right now, everything you got comes to Ukraine, and you will be happy about it. And you get nothing in return. You understand me? You will get nothing. You ungrateful bastards. I hate you. That's his speech. That is pretty much what he says every time he gets. And for a while, Biden and crew were looking over his shoulder at everybody, giving everybody the hairy eyeball. Because people weren't happy with it. They were like, hey, man, you're being a little mean. And Biden was over, so shut up. And they're like, okay, Father Joe. Okay, yes, Mr. Biden. Sure, here's some more weapons. That thing's done played out. That dog don't hunt no more. So now he comes in, he does his usual shtick. Hey, hello, ingrates. People are like, oh, not this again. And he's shocked, like, wait a minute. When I say hello, ingrates, you guys are supposed to say hello. Let's try this again. Let's practice. I say hello, ingrates, and you say hello, Mr. Zelensky. Hello, ingrates. And you could hear a rat piss on cotton. It's so quiet because ain't nobody there. The seats are empty. They're done. The game is up. The jig is up. It's over. Everybody knows. They're like, dude, why should we talk to you? You're a dead man. If the Russians don't hit you with a missile, which they're trying to avoid, the neocons are going to rub you out. We don't talk to dead men. Goodbye. We don't watch the speeches of dead men. You're dead man. We don't want to hear your speech. Dead man. Goodbye. And out they went. And literally, they had to like do a video where they like filled the seats in the video, and one of the people in the seats was Zelensky. Literally, they did a video where Zelensky was talking, and when they showed the audience, Zelensky was sitting in the audience. He was watching himself do a speech. They had no choice. What were they going to do? I'm surprised they didn't fill it with all Zelenskys, like kind of like the Matrix when everybody turned into a what was the guy's name? An agent. They could have just did that, just like took AI, made a video, and made a gigantic room full of Zelenskys all watching and all clapping at the same time. Because everybody knew what they were doing. It's over. The jig is up. The game is over. He went to UN, and now everybody looked at it and they're like, "Oh man, that's going to leave a mark." Then he comes to Congress. Hey, I'm going to talk to Congress, and Kevin McCarthy's like, we're kind of busy this week, maybe another time. We got to talk about a government shutdown or something. I mean, not that we don't love you and we're supporting you and the Azov Battalion, certainly, but just right now, we got a few things. I think they're clean and they're redoing something or something. They're putting in new chairs. Yeah, that's it. Chairs. That's it. They're putting in new chairs. And as soon as these chairs get installed, man, we'll give you a buzz. Maybe 6 or 8 months. You guys are still alive. We will get you back in here. And hey, man, all we're trying to hear is a speech from you, bro. We are trying to hear a speech from you. But right now, they're putting in new chairs. And chairs. Bye-bye. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, I think that's Trump calling me. Gotta go. He's out of there. You are persona non grata. Look, this guy's persona non grata at the UN. Don't even go to like Africa or any place like that. Don't even go there. You're done. Persona non grata in the US Congress. The U.S. Congress, the country that's sending all this stuff there, that's making a fortune off of this war, and you are persona non grata in the House of Representatives. That means the game is over. Turn over the board, brother. Turn over the board. You've lost. Get angry. Oh, this is not fair. You cheated, and turn over the board and go home. Get out of there. And you better hide, because I suspect, as do many others, that now that, as Camilla V says, your stock has fallen, and I'll add this, precipitously. Now that your stock has crashed, brother, your health may be soon to follow. Now that it's obvious to the neocons that you are not a valuable asset. You know what happens to assets that ain't valuable, buddy? You know what happens? They get cashed in. I suspect it is possible that your ticket could get punched. And keep in mind something. People are like, "Hey, he won't." The people are like, they want this guy. The neocons now want him to talk to the Russians, but he won't. He can't. He's caught between the neocons and the Azov Battalion. You see, you may talk about what we can talk about whether he may be and have an inclination, which he. Let's not pretend that he has agency here, but you can talk about whether he has an inclination to try to work out a deal with the Russians. If he's smart, he will move to Russia, because there he can live and survive, right? He can work out a deal and talk and survive. That's probably his best move. To be honest, it probably is. It's the only place that he'll live. But at any rate, he's got to go back to Ukraine. And if he goes back to these apes, these swastika tattooed apes, and he says to these guys, "Hey, I got a great idea, guys," they're going to be like, "Yeah, what is it?" I think we should talk to the Russians. I mean, I talked to Victoria Nuland. She doesn't want us to, but there are some people in Washington that I talked to that said, perhaps we should sit down and have a dialogue with the Russians. What do you think? They're cutting his throat. They are cutting his throat. They ain't wasting a bullet on this guy. They're not wasting the powder on this guy. They're cutting his throat. They're going to grab him by the top of his pumpkin head. Ah! That's what he gets. I will guarantee you this. He goes back to the Azov dudes, the right sector of some of these guys, and he's talking about the Ubermenschen, right? The Untermenschen. The Russians aren't humans. They're below humans. They're fighting with shovels, for God's sake. And you are going to propose to these people. I don't care what they tell you in Washington, D.C. Hey, yeah, they may, in fact, that may be the easiest way for them to dispose of you. Here's what we want you to do, Zelensky. We got a plan. All right. Thanks a lot there, Tony and Jake. What do I do? Well, we're going to put you on a military transport plane like we always do. We're going to send you back. You're going to go to your advisors. Yes, I'm going to go to my advisors. What I'm going to say to them, you're going to say to them, I think we should try to talk to the Russians and work things out. What? How's that sound? He's going to be like, but they'll kill me. And Jake Sullivan and the guys will be like, nah, oh no, nah, and they'll all be doing, nah, oh no, nah, kill you. Oh, come on, no, guys, I'm gonna do this. Come on, you're being dramatic. The drama queen. Now you're a drama queen. They're not killing you. I'm sure they'll do it. It's going to take a little convincing, but just be persistent. Start off. Look, do like we do. If you're going to have a tough meeting, come in with some hot coffee, some Danishes, give everybody free coffee and Danishes. Hey guys, come on in. We're having a meeting. Free coffee and Danishes. Sit them down around. Ask them how the family's doing. Things like that. Tell them, give them all a little nice wooden swastika, something like that. Sit down, chat with them for a while, talk about the soccer game, whatever, and then once the ice is broken, and everybody's full of delicious Danishes and hot coffee, we'll provide it for you. Starbucks, absolutely great beans. And once you got that, just say to them casually, hey guys, what would you think? Not that I'm doing it, but if somebody would come to you and say, maybe we could get a deal with the Russians. Now the Nazis, they're coughing. They're going to spray cotton coffee all over the place. And first they're going to reach for the guns, but then they're going to realize we ain't wasting a bullet on this guy. Nah, we ain't wasting a bullet on a guy, because on this side of my belt, I got one of those Nazis carry. I got one of these Rambo kind of knives, and I can grab this son bitch by the top of his head, come up from behind, and or maybe up under the ribs. Any way you look at it, trust me, I don't want to see anything happen to Zelensky. I don't want to see anything happen to anybody. I'm for a peaceful resolution to all conflicts. But I ain't a member of the Azov battalion. For some reason, they don't think like me. They're for a violent resolution of all conflicts. In fact, if there is no conflict, they want to create one. And if they send him back and he starts talking about getting a deal with the Russians, just saying, probably ain't gonna work out real well for him. In fact, I think his wife understands that. I've been reading here lately that his wife has been chatting with him about stepping down, that his wife has been suggesting perhaps that he doesn't stand for election next time around. But and people say they're gonna have an election next year. I don't think they got that kind of time. I really don't think they have that kind of time. But if they do, the word on the street is that his wife is saying, hey, there, honey. Yeah. We got villas here and there. I understand you pilfered 400 or 500 million. Yeah. Let's take the money and run. You heard the song. Go on, take the money and run. Woo, woo, woo. That's what I think. And you know what? Let me just give you a piece of advice, Zelensky. Listen to your wife. Listen to your wife, man. Your wife, yeah, does she like to go to the Gucci store and spend 10,000 a day? Yeah, fair enough. Is she going to be on the cover of magazines while the Ukrainian government is literally drafting women now and throwing them out on the battlefield to be torn to pieces by shrapnel? Fair enough. But I think she's looking out for your best interest. That's what I'm saying. I think now that she's telling you, get the hell out, she's looking out for your best interest. That lady understands that you are a dead man walking. And If the neocons don't get tired of you, and in a dangerous world such as this, something unfortunate, some calamitous thing happens to you, then you got to go back and face the right sector and the Azov battalion, and you'll be in much better hands with the neocons than you will with those clowns. So we got a situation where the neocons have a problem, and his name is Zelensky. And I think at some point, in some manner, they're going to find a way to neutralize the problem. But that ain't going to eliminate, that ain't going to save them from this debacle, because no matter how much propaganda they do, I mean, think about this. You remember the Afghanistan papers where we found out that they were lying about the Afghans the whole time. They were lying about whether they were winning. They were lying about everything like they always do. That was the Afghanistan papers. Came out, I think, 2012, something like that. Look it up, the Afghanistan papers. Just found out that the generals, as always, knew they were never going to win, but what the hell? Everybody's getting paid, right? We're all eating off of this war. Let's keep doing it. That's kind of what they were doing. And at some point, at the very end, the puppet leader, Ashraf Ghani, was on the phone with Biden, and he's like, hey, man, the Taliban's overrunning all our positions. We are screwed. And Biden said, look, I need you to lie. I need you to say everything's fine. And Ashraf Ghani said everything is fine. He then packed $160 million in his luggage, got the hell on a plane, and got out of Dodge. This was a bunch of guys in 2006 Toyota Tundras that they had welded a machine gun to the back. They ran the neocons out of Afghanistan with 4-cylinder pickup trucks. They didn't have hypersonic missiles. So that was a debacle, but it wasn't a superpower-led debacle. Now you're going against a country that has nuclear subs and fifth-generation fighters and missiles that are superior to the ones that you have. They got everything. And you tried the same game that you lost to a bunch of guys in pickup trucks. And you tried that game against a superpower, and now you're getting your ass handed to you. And when it falls, it will be a debacle. It will be surely the mother of all debacles, and it's coming, and it ain't no way past it, because Europe at some point is going to have to crawl back to Russia. At some point, the leadership of Europe is going to have to say to Russia, guys, a lot has happened, but we still need your energy and your other stuff too, fertilizer. They're still buying all that stuff, but they're going to need to pick it up. And it could be this winter. They're going to have big, big, big problems. And financially, they're going to fall apart. And the people are going to get pissed, man. The people in Europe are going to be so pissed when all of this happens. And here's the thing about it. Here's the thing about it. All of the pain you put them through, freezing their asses off, eating blue and yellow soup made from boiled Ukrainian flags, jobs gone, industry out of here, humiliated, and you're going to lose the war. And when it comes down to it, the Russians are going to dictate the end. And the elite ruling class in Europe will be so discredited. They will be discredited beyond belief, and there is nothing they can do about it, because this is how it works. And ultimately, somebody said, somebody said, Europe will burn this year. Yeah, because they'll be trying to keep warm. Yeah, it'll burn all right. They'll burn the furniture. They'll burn buildings, not because they're angry. They'll burn the government buildings. Hey, are you burning the government building out of anger? No, we're freezing to death, man. Hey, somebody go get some hot dogs. Let's cook some schnitzel on this government building here. We're burning the parliament building. It ain't going to be burning the parliament building out of anger, out of political fury. They're going to be cold. And they're going to be taking the chairs out and throwing them in their fireplaces. Bad news for Europe's going to burn, all right. That's for sure. It will. So let's look. So what we're looking at is, as I went through everything, man, no matter, and let me add this. as the European economy goes straight to hell, the Russians seem to be doing pretty good. Their economy's growing. Their economy's growing. And now they're like built a stronger unity with Saudi Arabia because these idiots decided that they were going to try to control oil prices and they pissed off the oil producing nations. So the oil producing nations are like, you ain't going to control the oil prices. We'll show you. And they will show you. And the prices are going up. And it's an election year. And Trump, there was a poll came out where Trump was leading by 10 points. Yes, I think it probably was an outlier, but I don't know how much longer it's going to be an outlier. Because as support for the Ukraine debacle evaporates, and Trump is going to be the guy standing there saying, I told you. If it was me, this wouldn't happen. Not that, it's true or false. I'm just saying. But he's been giving them for a while hell, saying we need to get out. You're trying to start a nuclear war. This is an error. If it was me, I'd get out. Blah, 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 blah. He's been giving them that rhetoric. It's only going to get louder. And people are going to look at Trump and say, hey, guys, he kind of really did tell you to get the hell out. And now look at this debacle that we're in the middle of. And these idiots are going to be like, yeah, that really, boy, what a debacle. Hey, there's Taiwan. Let's go over here. Ain't going to work out real good. That Taiwan thing ain't going to work out real good because this is going to be such a debacle that the world is going to be backing off saying, man, we can't go around another round of this. The world's going to be like, come on, you guys got to chill out, man. We can't take another 2 years of you idiots creeping up to the boundaries of another superpower, nuclear saber rattling and pumping weapons in and giving us the same rhetoric of you've got to stand up for liberty. And God knows the people of Taiwan, I mean, they might as well, if they're so stupid to do what the Ukrainians did, they might as well hang themselves. If the people of Taiwan are that stupid, don't bother letting the neocons do this. Just put a rope around yourself, put the other end on over a tree, and jump off and hang yourself. It's over. If the people of Taiwan don't look at this and say, hey, this was not this, hey, let's not do this. If they ain't there, they might as well collectively all hang themselves. You think the U.S. is coming to bring you freedom and stand up for your independence and democracy after this debacle? And you still believe that? Is there anybody on earth that stupid? I hope and pray that there isn't. We will see. But there's nothing left. Humiliation, degradation. Europe is going to fall. Europe is going to separate. Europe is going to separate. They're going to put people in power who hate the U.S. and ain't going to forget. And mark my word, it ain't over as far as the Nord Stream bombing. It ain't over. There will be parties that come to power in Europe that say we need to talk about this. We need to, the quislings and traitors that they have now are complicit. Schultz, Baerbock, she probably planted the damn bomb herself. I wouldn't be surprised if you went down there on the day that the bombing happened, and there's Annalena Baerbock coming up, with a wetsuit on, coming up. Hey, she had to come down because she had to help bomb her own country. They got quislings, they got traitors right now. Trust me, their days will come. The day will come when those people won't be able to set foot in their own country. It's coming. All right. Let's look at the super chats. I always get brilliant super chats. My people are so smart. We have brilliant super chats. Vita says the neocon goal has been to denazify Ukraine. Yeah, they're going to have to denazify it in order to get a deal. When they want a deal, they're going to have to denazify it themselves in order to get a deal. But I'll put it like this. Don't count on Canada trying to denazify. If they do, they can just send all the Nazis to Canada. They'll be home. Did Lloyd Austin really say that? Lloyd Austin said that they wanted to weaken it. I don't know what else he said, what somebody in the chat said. But he said they wanted to weaken Russia. How'd that work out? Debacle. Let's see. Miss Me With It says, get on Rumble. I really got to get on Rumble. Miss Me With It. What else? All right, here we got Raphael, my main man. Gee, how did you get Russia right from the start? Today, Sugar said, we are here for 2025. You're among the few to get Russians. CIA is way off. It just seemed pretty It was intuitive, man. It just seemed obvious to me. First of all, always bet against an idiot. That's my motto. If there's two people trying to do something and one of them is a neocon and he's a blithering idiot, let's face it, how hard was this? Joe Biden was in charge. Joe Biden was running the show. And Blinken and Biden, the team of Blinken and Biden, bet against those two every single time. But Tony Blinken's one of the stupidest people on earth. It ain't hard. Listen to this guy. We've got to confront Russia and China for all eternity. Bet against Blinken. Okay. Bet against Blinken. And you're always going to get your money. All right, let's keep going. Way to go, Raphael, my main man. How about this? Jura says, oh, thanks a lot for the super sticker. Now we check on Rockfin. Is anybody? Oh man, people on Rockfin. All right. First of all, Scott Johnson. Thanks a lot, Scott. Timothy Taylor says, "Garland, you crack me up. The truth is so funny. It is funny. It's like a rat peeing on a guy." Yeah, my dad used to say that. He was a longshoreman. He had all those kind of sayings. It's so quiet you could hear a rat piss on cotton. That's a good old longshoreman saying. You know, and that's why I'm a regular guy. I always tell people I'm a regular guy. My dad was a longshoreman. I bet there's a lot of people like in the chat who can understand what I'm saying. He was a guy that got up in the morning, he put on a hard hat, he went out in the cold, and he made a living. An honest man. He worked hard to feed his family. I bet most people you can call, yeah, I could say I'm a libertarian, I'm a communist, a socialist, whatever, not a neoliberal. You could put any name you want and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I bet there's a lot of people who understand what I'm talking about when I say my dad got up and put a hard hat on and earn an honest living. That's it. You know what I mean? That's what you do. And that's what I learned. And that's what we should all know. And as best we can, we take care of our families. And of course, there are people who maybe are born blind or sick or they're injured and they can't take care of themselves. The society should take care of, you know, widows and orphans, as they say, things like that. And, you know, we got homelessness all over the place. Can't afford that because we got to send more money to the Nazis. Why would we want to address homelessness when we could be sending that money to Ukraine to get blown to hell by the Russians? Okay, let's see what Vita and D says. Vita says, to clarify, denazify equals till the last Ukrainian. Yeah, you're an old Lindsey Graham on that one. Fight to the last Ukrainian. Looks like Lindsey Graham got that right. Debacle. Word of the week. Yeah. I remember when you watch those kid shows, the little kid shows, and they say, okay, boys and girls, we have a word of the week. And the word of the week is debacle. And we've got today Tony Blinken. He doesn't have to say anything. We just got Tony Blinken. The word of the week is debacle. Debacle. See that guy standing beside me? Yeah, that's Tony Blinken. Nothing else need be said. All righty, let's look over here. Anybody else? Denver Attaway says NATO and the USA are being given an ultimatum for cooperation. If US and NATO ignore it, they will be isolated from BRICS and Chinese Belt and Road. They're going to be isolated. Nobody trusts them anymore. Everybody knows they're idiots. And it says, when you restrict the available resources to both you and your allies, regardless of its source, the sanction is on oneself. That's the bottom line. They've never sanctioned Russia. They're sanctioning themselves, and they're still buying stuff from Russia. And what they're doing is they're buying it from Russia, marking up with the middleman. And then by the time you, poor schlumpy person, you buy it, you pay way more than the value. So what they do is this. What the neoliberals are really doing is they claim to be sanctioning Russia, and they send the diesel fuel, whatever the hell, they send it to India. India processes it, comes back, and they're the middleman. Their companies, people like Rishi Sunak and these people, they're rich. Their countries are doing the process. Their companies are doing the processing. Their companies are doing the middleman stuff. They're getting rich off these sanctions. They're getting richer, and you're getting poorer. And one of these days, the bill's going to come due for them, and we ain't all that far away. People are like, the Russians are about to do a offensive. If I was the Russians, I wouldn't do an offensive now. If I was going to do an offensive, I'd wait till the spring. Here's the thing about it. It's kind of like self-defense, right? It's like you want to, when you defeat your opponent, you want to be able to touch him with a feather and he drops. You want to defeat your opponent to a point where you can just take a feather and go boink and he'll drop, right? When I did an offensive, if I were the Russians, by the time I did my offensive, you'd be begging me not to. By the time I got ready to do my offensive, you'd be out of weapons, you'd be out of ammunition, you'd be out of breath, you'd be out of time. I'd let them go through the winter. And I continue to bomb and do everything I'm going to do and let them run out of what, do all that. And I would continue. I'd let the election season continue to go on, and the Democrats would scratch their heads, and the impeachment inquiry would be going on against Biden, and Hunter Biden would be smoking crack and doing all the things that he does. And I'd let all that happen. Winter, maybe it's real cold. Maybe the Germans are shivering a bit. All this thing goes down. And Ukrainians would have less and less and less and less equipment. And when they were just about out of equipment, I'd hit them hard. And I'd give them the opportunity to surrender. See, that's how this debacle ends. Unconditional surrender. Collapse. If there's even anybody left to surrender, this Nazi government, this regime may collapse to a point where there ain't nobody to surrender. Who's going to surrender? It's going to collapse, collapse. It will be the mother of all debacles, and it's getting obvious. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did. Is this the last one? Debacle word that we got that. Did I miss anybody else on Rockfin? Well, gang, thanks Scott Johnson's. Thanks Timothy Taylor. Thanks Denver Attaway. Thanks JVB. Thanks everybody. I think that's it. Last but not least, do me a favor, share this on stiff arm the like button. Make sure you stiff arm that like button, hit that like button, get lots of likes. Also, let's make an attempt to share this on all of our social media platforms. You know, some of us aren't doing Twitter anymore. Some of us, and by some of us, I mean me. So share this on Twitter, share it all over the place on your social media platforms. It'd be highly appreciated for those who can. A great way to donate to the channel is buymeacoffee.com/Garland H. I don't know why they put the H. You can see it's going by, scrolling by there. Buy Me a Coffee is pretty easy. You just go there, it'll say buy Garland a coffee, $5. And how many coffees do you want? You can do that. And now on Buy Me a Coffee, you can literally say, I want to do this as a monthly prescription, and every week, every month, once a month, they'll do it. So Buy Me a Coffee is great. Patreon's is good. You can see my information. Certainly my Cash App information is there, and PayPal is an option. All that stuff scrolling across the bottom. If you can do anything to help the channel, it's highly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, Lucia. What a great name, Lucia. Lots of hearts from Lucia. How often is that? And Camilla V gave me a heart too. Love Camilla V. Thanks, Lucia. Thanks, everybody. Chicken Patty. All of the wonderful people here. Rolf Steiner. He's always in the house. He is always in the house. Thanks a lot, Rolf. Peace. I'm out.